When a child dies in his sleep, the world doesn't end with noise. It ends with a silence that rearranges gravity. The clocks keep time, but nothing keeps you. In that silence, a cosmic being showed me the secret of sudden goodbyes, the technology of partings without warning, the ways love prepares us without our permission, and what to do with a goodbye that didn't knock. This is not a sermon. It's a parent's field guide written in first person, tested at 3:11 a.m. on a Tuesday, and told so you can breathe again. If your loss arrived like a thief, if you wake up listening for footsteps that won't come down the hall, subscribe. This story is engineered for high retention and real relief. No filler, no platitudes, only the map that found me when oxygen couldn't. Breathe. The secret begins where the last breath ended. Night of the quiet. Suburbs, Portland, Oregon. 3:04 a.m. My name is Daniel Reyes. I am 42. I manage a fabrication shop that cuts steel like butter and keeps the lights on for crews who believe in lunch pails and blunt truths. My son, Mateo, was 9 years old, a boy who collected rocks and words and could name cloud types by the way the dog walked into the wind. He fell asleep after a day at the river, cheeks pink from sun, hair smelling like lake and shampoo. He laughed at something on a nature video while brushing his teeth. He said, "Good night, Papa," and wiped his mouth like an old man exaggerated to make me laugh. He did. At 3:04 I woke because the house forgot how to make the small sounds houses make when they are happy. It wasn't a noise that woke me. It was a missing one. The little whistle in the vent, the dog's nails, the refrigerator's night hum. Silence is diagnostic when you are a parent. I walked into his room bare feet, remembering every Lego he ever left me as a landmine. The moon drew a rectangle on the carpet exactly where he lined up his rocks. He lay on his side, hand under cheek the way he slept when he was teething, as if the memory of pain made a habit out of comfort. I touched his shoulder. Cold is a sound your mind makes that your ears can't hear. I did everything a human can do with training from YouTube and instinct from a heart that refuses to understand instructions. Compress. Call. Muffle the noise in your throat so the 911 operator can hear the address. Beg, promise, trade. There is nothing to trade. The paramedics arrived in uniforms that made time feel official. They were good. There was nothing to be good at anymore. By 4:20, the house had a new kind of silence. The dog hid under the table. Dogs know when a room discovers a new word for empty. I sat on the kitchen floor because chairs are for people who remember how to bend their knees without thinking about it. The air moved. Not a breeze through a cracked window. Movement like the house had taken a breath. A figure stepped where the air had stepped, and the tiles under that knot foot remembered weight. The being was tall, but height is a rumor beside its presence. Geometry hummed around it like a beehive made of light, facets reconfiguring, edges giving up their edge, a face that wasn't a face, and thus didn't force me to categorize it. It smelled faintly of rain on asphalt and warm cedar, which is either my mind being kind to me or a detail the universe uses to say, "Don't run." "I am Animal," it said directly into the place where my thoughts pretend to be private. The voice was a chord, a keeper of thresholds. "Then keep this one open," I said, not because I thought it could, but because my mouth moves when my heart is drowning. "Bring my boy back through it." "I cannot reverse the body's decision," Animal said, more mercy than refusal. "I can show you what your heart asked in the moment his stopped." What did I ask? I barely recognized my voice. It sounded like it had been dragged behind a truck. "You asked, how do I say goodbye when there was no hello to the end?" "Yes," I said. "That. The secret of sudden goodbyes," it said, "is that they are rarely sudden to the soul, only to the schedule." Mateo was healthy. No warnings, no murmurs, no allergies that negotiated with air, no headaches with agendas. He'd once stayed up late to build a solar system mobile where Pluto negotiated its identity 12 times. He was a boy whose teeth fell out on their own time and who said, "I forgive them for being late." There was no fight, no hospital corridor. Only a boy who lay down with a stomach full of summer and a father who woke because a silence found him. That's the ordinary and the break. The life before and after are the same house, rearranged by invisible hands. "Teach me," I said to an impossible thing in my kitchen, "but don't speak to me like I am well." "I will not," Annamiel said. "You are not a student right now. You are a wound. Wounds learn differently. They learn by being held and told the truth in sentences that don't swerve." "Then tell me," I said. "Right now." Annamiel lifted a not hand. The room peeled back. He did not take me anywhere. He widened me until I could occupy the places that were true at the same time. Annamiel narrated the precise mechanics of the first moments after my son's last breath with a clarity that cut and comforted in the same motion. 00030, the unfastening. "His body released him like a button you've been taught not to force," Annamiel said. "There was no flinch. There is sometimes a flinch, not this time." He showed me the moment as geometry, the way breath becomes pattern and pattern does not need lungs, the way his awareness stepped a quarter inch to the left of the bed and remembered how to balance without feet. 032, the orientation. "He recognized you before he recognized himself," the being said. "He put his hand, this one, the left, on your shoulder. He did not feel your shoulder, he felt yourness. It was the angle of the room he loved most." I had woken that second with a sensation like a hand low on my back. I had thought it was my body trying to help me up. It was my son practicing goodbye without language. "Tu manse forbas," the choosing. "Consent is sovereign," Annamiel said, and the word consent landed like an anchor in a storm. We asked him, "Do you want to stay and wait for your father to find you in the seam, or do you want to go to first light?" "He knew what that was?" I asked, absolutely outraged by the idea that my boy had a vocabulary that exceeded mine when it mattered. "He knew by feeling," the being said. "He asked, 'Will he be okay if I go now?'" "What did you say?" "We said, 'He will not be okay. He will become okay,' which is different. 'He will find you in the ways that do not need time.'" He said yes. 4 now dating 6. The carry. "Two came for him," Annamiel said, and when it said two, I knew who without knowing how. My father, who died the year Matteo was born, hands like maps of work. And my mother's sister, the one who taught me how to make rice without hurrying. "He walked to them," Annamiel said. "He remembered walking like you remember riding a bike after a decade. Taken 12 Sauliv the gift. He left you 3 anchors," the being said, "because he is your son and your son knows you don't believe what you can't hold. Anchor 1, the rock. In his pillowcase, the rock, he said, was a meteorite," Annamiel said. "He tucked it there last week because he said dreams need weight. He whispered in it the last secret he learned. You will hear it if you listen with your hand. Anchor 2, the word. On the whiteboard on the fridge under the list, he wrote a word you will not notice until you do," the being said. "It is for you when the next silence comes. It is a door password. Anchor 3, the breath. He will move your breath 3 times in the next week," it said. "You will think you are sighing. It will be him reminding your lungs that rooms can be shared by the living and the widened. I write them here because the anchors matter later. The anchors are the reason my skeptical brain didn't burn this memory as fever. Act I-4, the secret of sudden goodbyes. The secret is preparation without permission, Annamiel said, because cosmic humor sometimes sounds like cruelty until you sit with it. Souls rehearse exits the way you rehearsed fatherhood, badly at first, then with more grace than you planned. How? I asked. He was 9. Play is the rehearsal, it said. Hide and seek is a rehearsal. Bedtime stories that stop in the middle and make you guess the end are rehearsals. Blowing out candles and making wishes trains lungs to accept endings that are beginnings. He practiced in a body that thought it was practicing how to be a boy. And me? I asked. Was I rehearsed? You were not warned, it said. You were rehearsed, which is not the same. Every time you let him run ahead on the trail and believed he would stop at the bend, you rehearsed. Every time you watched him sleep and did not wake him just to be sure, you rehearsed. Every time you said goodnight without adding instructions, you rehearsed. Then why does it feel like failure? I asked. Because grief makes everything an indictment. Because your nervous system is a loyal dog, it said. It believes its job is to guard. The job is to love. Dogs can learn new jobs. Act 5. The 5 reasons. Sudden goodbyes. Happen and what they aren't. Body chooses. Soul consents. Bodies end for reasons as small as an electrical misfire and as big as a blueprint you don't like. Souls are not dragged. They are invited. Most say yes, with a clarity that would shame a sermon. No warning is not no preparation. You noticed he lined up his shoes by the door that night. He never does. He said, "So I can go fast in the morning." He was rehearsing the word go. Sudden is a perception problem. For you, time snapped. For him, time opened. Both are true. One hurts. A gift may ride on the exit. Sometimes the way a soul leaves carries medicine you won't tolerate any other way. Slowing down, forgiving the father, replanting a life, learning a language you swore you didn't need. Not punishment. Never punishment. The universe doesn't have a budget for spite. Act 6. The rooms beyond. He walked through, precisely, field of first light, a field where beginnings are grown like wheat. He ran through it the way kids run when they don't know adults are watching. Knees high, laugh falling off behind him like coins. He gathered start in handfuls and tossed it in the air. It fell on the heads of babies born at 3:17 a.m. in 3 hospitals. I checked the next day because if you are reading this, you know your brain will make you check. Hall of small echoes. Every tiny kindness he ever did. Giving the blue crayon because it's your favorite. Choosing a cracked cupcake, patting the dog's bed twice so she would lie down, rang like bells. The hall made a music that sounded like what kitchens smell like on Sundays. The city of remembering. He found my father there in a square where fountains run up. My father taught him how to whistle with 2 fingers, which I never learned. I woke 3 days later, whistling like a farmhand. It was either coincidence or a gift. I do not fight gratitude with logic anymore. The orchard of finished goodnights. He returned every goodnight I ever said too quickly, because a game was on or dishes were loud. He placed them in my hand in dreams for a week. Soft night papas that landed like bread on a plate. I ate. I didn't know this kind of eating existed. Act 7. The veridical anchors. Proof that kept my mind loyal to my heart. Anchor 1. The rock. I slid my hand into his pillowcase. The rock was there, rough and heavy, with a streak of iron that caught the window like a line of dawn. When I pressed it to my ear like an idiot parent who will do anything if it might help, I heard a wordless pressure that reminded me of his baby breath. I can't prove that. I also can't prove love. Both keep me alive. Anchor 2. The word. On the whiteboard, under milk, tortillas, olive oil, he had written, again, small letters. He had never written on the list before. I took a picture. I can send it to you. It became the password. When panic slammed the door, I said again, and it opened enough to breathe. Anchor 3. The breath. On Thursday, while fixing a jammed blade guard, I exhaled and inhaled without moving my ribs. It felt like my lungs decided they had room. 3 times that week, same feeling. Not sighing, not crying. A thing the body does when it remembers it's not the only one working. Act 8. The rituals for unworn departures. A toolkit for the living. Anamiel gave me instructions like a shop foreman who knows your hands better than your head does. The bed ritual. Start where it ended. Strip the bed slowly. Fold the sheet toward the pillow, not away. Place the pillow on the chair he read in, then put it back. This teaches the room that movement can be gentle. It's for you, not the dead. The shoe line. Finish his thought. If shoes are by the door, leave them for a week. Every morning, touch the laces and say, go fast. On day 7, put the shoes in a box with a note that says, went ahead. Keep the box where the dog can sleep on it. Dogs are bridges. The word plate. Make the password a practice. Write the anchor word, again, still yados here, on a piece of paper. Tape it under a plate. Serve 1 meal a week on that plate. When you lift it to wash, read the word, out loud. Mouth shapes teach nervous systems. The rock pocket, wait your days. Carry the rock. When panic hits, switch pockets. The brain loves bilateral signals. It's how we talk to the corridor that grief narrows. The bread and the door. Feed what's gone. Bake bread once a month. Open the back door when you take it out of the oven. Say good night into the warm air. The seam understands kitchen. The night window inch. Let air practice being a messenger. Crack the window an inch at 3:04 a.m. for a week. Not for superstition. For surrender. Inch open equals inch of trust. Bodies learn by inches. Act 9. The 5 things not to do, because your mind will try. Don't build a shrine out of panic. Build rituals out of love. Shrines can trap rooms. Rituals teach them to breathe. Don't require signs on a schedule. That's control wearing a rosary. Ask, then notice. Don't make your child an argument. If belief debates soothe you, fine. But your kid is not a thesis. He is a person who is busy learning how fountains run up. Don't pretend you're okay to make others comfortable. Grief hates theater. It loves chores. Sweep, cry, repeat. Don't call it sudden, forever. Rename it. Unwarned speaks of you, not punishment. Language is a lever. Act X, the entity's final lesson, and my assignment. Here is the secret compressed into a sentence, Annamiel said, light softer now, as if dawn had nerves. Sudden goodbyes are agreements the soul made with breath to teach love how to walk without the rehearsal of a long hallway. I didn't agree, I said, because honesty is the only tithe grief respects. You didn't, it said, but you can consent to how you'll carry it. Consent is the only power that changes corridors. What do I do now? I asked, both ashamed and saved by the practical turn. Plant his word, the being said, not as metaphor. In dirt. Write it on a cedar tag. Tie it to a sapling. Invite people whose goodbyes were unwarned. Call it the Again Grove. Return each year and add a ring. And at home? I asked. Teach your lungs, it said. Whistle with your father. Let the dog lead sometimes. Make birthdays that become verbs instead of dates. And stop asking why before you've asked how. How keeps you alive? Why will meet you later? Return. Same kitchen, same tile, new house. The being receded without drama. The light remembered it could mind its business. The dog crawled out from under the table and put her chin on my knee like forgiveness with fur. I pulled the pillowcase and found the rock. I took the picture of the word. I breathed when the breath moved me. What happened next, so you know this is not just poetry. We planted the Again Grove. 10 families, 10 saplings, 10 words etched on cedar. Again. Still. More. Here. Okay. Light. Slow. Widen. Home. Begin. We said the names. We cried. We laughed at stories that hadn't had air yet. We ate bread because bread is the only faith that never argues. The fabrication shop adopted a grief ritual. 1 minute of standing still at the start of every Monday. No prayer, no speeches. 1 minute to let breath teach welders how corridors work. At the river, I found the exact stone shelf where Matteo liked to play island. I left 3 small paper boats with his word written on them. A kid I didn't know picked one up and read it out loud. That is how passwords travel. At 3:04 a.m. on Thursday, I opened the window an inch. I said, "Good night." The air answered by being air. That was enough. I learned to whistle with 2 fingers. It is either genetics or grace. I have stopped needing to prove the difference. For you, tonight, if your goodbye knocked you flat, sit on the floor, not the couch. Floors remind the body it can be held. Find one object they loved. Put it in your pocket. Switch sides when panic rises. Left to right, right to left. Write one word you can live with, not why. Pick again. Still, here, light. Tape it under a plate. Eat on it. Speak it when you wash. Open a window an inch at the time the silence found you. Say good night or go or okay. Pick one. Repeat for 7 nights. Bake bread or make rice. Food with steam is a letter the seam can read. Say their name in a room with running water. Sinks hold secrets. They also rinse them. Tell one person the anchor you found. Don't argue with their face. You belong to the craft, not the debate. What to tell people who show up with good hearts and clumsy words. Don't fix it. Sweep with me. Hand them a broom. Say his name, please. Watch their shoulders drop when you give them permission. Sit. We don't have to talk. Silence that is shared becomes not silence. Bring bread next week. Give them a map. People love maps more than sympathy. Closing the loop. When my son died in his sleep, a cosmic keeper of thresholds showed me the secret of unwarned goodbyes. Our souls rehearse more than our calendars admit. Consent is the only force that arranges the corridor. Anchors matter more than arguments. And the way back to breath is through small, repeatable rituals that teach rooms to exhale. If this widened your chest by even an inch, subscribe. Not for the algorithm, but so your nights have company that knows how to hold silence without breaking it. Drop your word in the comments, the one you'll tape under the plate. Drop your anchor, the rock, the whistle, the dog at the door. Someone who slept in a house like yours needs your map. Remember, sudden is about you, safe is about them, love is about both. Again is permission, begin is a prayer, and good night is not the opposite of hello. It's the way both keep each other honest.